everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden. I'm your host, Jeanniey Walden. After spending many years as a business leader and chief marketing officer of companies whose missions were to forge new paths forward, I realized that creating solutions that improve the way we live is great, but it might not be enough. That's why I started Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden. Here on Liftoff, we're going to have fun with a purpose. We'll bring you conversations with experts that provide resources that guide you towards financial freedom, help you improve your mental wellness, live a healthier lifestyle, and it's all done through something I like to call AIR, authentic, inspirational, and relatable content. Every conversation we have is carefully designed to make every part of your life better, personally and professionally. So if you need a lift in your professional or personal life, you are in the right spot. The last few years of hybrid and work from home models in particular have gotten many Americans questioning, isn't there a better way than the 9 to 5 grind? Our very first guest on Liftoff, Amy Porterfield, certainly says so. Amy's the author of 2 Weeks Notice, Find the Courage to Quit Your Job, Make More Money, Work Where You Want, and Change the World. I love that. And oh my gosh, I actually did that to start this show. Amy, you've inspired me just by knowing what you're going to talk about in the incredible book that you have. But what inspired you to make an exit plan from your 9 to 5 and never look back?
14 years ago, I was still in a corporate job. I worked for peak performance coach Tony Robbins, and I got to travel the world and work on the content that he does on stage. And on paper, it was an amazing job. However, what I realized, I was in my early 30s, is that I've never been free. I've never been my own boss. I've never called the shots. And I started to have this huge desire to want to go out on my own and do my own thing. It took me a good year to get the courage to leave that final job and start out on my own. But I'm so glad I did, because I wanted to create something bigger than I had at that job. And so I've never looked back. Now I've created a multi-million-dollar business, and I help other people build businesses online.
So one of the things that I love about what you've done is you've created this book as a blueprint for those looking for financial freedom, lifestyle flexibility, and major impact. Tell me more about that.
Yes, I think everybody needs a blueprint in order to get started, and action creates clarity. So we've got to get people in motion. So the first blueprint I give is how to leave a job with integrity, but also when you leave to have the courage to start your own thing. And so I give you a runway of exactly the steps you need to take to leave that job. But once you do, instead of putting your resume out in the noisy world online, I'm encouraging people to take their ideas and start their own businesses. But you need a plan for that as well. And because I did that 14 years ago and teach thousands of people how to do it, I put it in my book, Step by Step, How to Build Your Business from Scratch.
That's so cool. And so you've created a 4-step plan for unbossing yourself. And I think I might use that term every time I can. Tell us about those 4 steps.
Yeah, so this concept of unbossing is believing that you can lead yourself and that you do not need anybody else to make decisions for you, to call the shots, or you do not need permission to do so. So the way you unboss yourself, it's decision by decision, action by action. You'll build that muscle over time when you stop looking for permission to do everything that you want to do. Now, when you're in your 9 to 5 job and you need a plan to leave, here are the 4 steps that I teach my students. Number 1, get clear on your why. Why do you want to start your own business? Why do you want to be your own boss? Get very clear, because on the days that your worries will knock you down, your why is going to pick you back up. Mine was, I wanted more freedom. I didn't want to be told what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. I didn't want to be on someone else's time or someone else's dime. To me, that was enough to move me forward, even though I was scared, even though I didn't know how this was all going to work out. So get clear on your why. The next step is to choose your exit date. If you don't schedule it, it will never happen. So I encourage my students to choose 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. Anything over 12 months, and you're likely not going to ever leave, and you're going to let fear take over. So you need to choose your timeline. You put that date on a Post-it note, you put it on a mirror where you see it every single day, and you ask yourself, what do I need to do today to move closer to that date? If I'm going to do it, what do I need to do? Do I need to make a call for advice? Do I need to pick up a book? Do I need to consult a friend? What do I need to do to help me move closer to that date? The third thing is Start a side hustle. One of the ways to get courage to leave your job is to have a little extra money coming through and get the courage to put yourself out there. Whether it's consulting or coaching or maybe a service-based business, just a little money on the side can make a big difference while you're transitioning out of your 9-to-5 job. And the fourth thing is that I want you to tell 3 people, and 3 people only. The reason for that is when you share your dreams with people, they're going to tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't do it because they are fearful as well. So not everybody deserves to hear about your dream. So tell 3 people that will hold you accountable, keep you moving forward, but keep it back from those that just won't be ready to hear it because you don't need any negativity.
What's something that you know now that you wish you knew sooner about building the life you love and a life you don't need a vacation from?
Yes, I wish I knew that my starter idea was good enough and that things will change as I go. When I first started out, I did social media for small businesses. 14 years later, and I don't do anything like that anymore because action creates clarity, and I got more clarity once I put myself out there. So you just need a starter idea. And in the pages of 2 weeks notice, I'll teach you how to come up with your starter idea and get it out into the world. So take some pressure off yourself. You don't need a big business plan. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need that starter idea to get going.
So smart. So smart. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your new show. It's going to be a
Thank
huge
you.
hit.
That was amazing. But stay tuned because after the break, we chat giving it back to the next generation of female executives. You want to know more about that? Stay with us. Welcome back. Here at Liftoff, it should come as no surprise that we are champions of women leaders. I mean, you're looking at one. Female leadership is assertive, inclusive, and empowering. And even though women now make up roughly 30% of all leadership roles in the workplace, women still remain highly underrepresented in CEO positions. Barbie Winterbottom is determined to change that. She's the CEO of the Business of Work and recently launched a new initiative called the Executive Woman, an endeavor aimed at giving back to the next generation of female executives while creating community and experiences. Barbie, I am so thrilled to have you as my guest here on Liftoff.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's exciting.
Now, you began in human resources. I met you then. We
Yes.
spoke together then. And now
I
we're
know.
speaking together with you as a CEO. Tell me about your transition from HR to CEO.
It was a journey I wasn't planning to take necessarily. As millions of people around the globe were impacted, my role was impacted during COVID. And so I had an option to either seek a new position or launch my own firm. And I chose to launch my own firm. It was something I wanted to do. And so I stepped into that role. And I have taken the 20 years of experience in human resources and people strategy and really applied it into this space of being my own boss, but also wanting to support other women who are stepping into their power and into their voices, because it's not necessarily as easy as we might think it is.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So tell me some of the themes you're hearing as you're creating the Executive Woman and what's really standing out to you?
It's interesting because this initiative happened almost by happenstance. I was interviewing women for a book I'm writing around their experiences in the workplace, because we've had these movements like Me Too, which raised significant awareness about some of the challenges that women face in the workplace. However, it didn't necessarily make the sweeping changes we had hoped for. And so many other social justice issues have happened since then. We don't really hear about it as much. So I was interviewing women to hear about their stories. And the theme that recurred over and over was that we are lonely. We are isolated. We don't have a community. We don't have support that sees us as whole people. The support that's there is focused on your job, the executive X, the chief marketing officer, the chief HR officer. But we're more than that. And as you know, since you've been in that role, the higher up you go, the lonelier it becomes. And so we're conference to death. We don't need another conference. What we need is an intimate, organic community of supportive people who get what it's like to go up through the ranks, but also once you're there, what you face on a day-to-day basis, because the ridiculousness is still happening, even more perhaps than we thought. And we're not all independently wealthy news anchors on major TV stations who can afford to bring suit against an employer like some of the women who were at the forefront of Me Too. And so what's happening is we're being silenced through severance agreements, NDAs, and all of these other tools that are used to keep our voices quiet instead of amplifying the voices we need to hear.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was telling me that she does feel lonely as she's gone through her career. And everything that you're doing with the Executive Woman is aimed to address that and to help change that. So, what can we expect next from the Executive Woman?
Well, there's a newsletter, which is really fun for me and scary because I'm sharing a lot of very personal challenges that I have faced throughout my life, even from childhood. Because what I'm now recognizing, and probably every therapist on the planet knows this, but we are conditioned to believe certain truths based on our lived experiences. And it takes time to overcome some of that conditioning. So through this newsletter, I'm finding my voice. And what's exciting is the next big thing we'll be launching is the Executive Woman Experience. And I'm most excited about this. The goal is we will create experiences for women, up to 10 people at a time, in beautiful locations around the world, where we facilitate that organic conversation that we all want to have of how have you overcome your challenges? What are you facing? As a Black woman in America, what are you facing that's different than what I'm facing? And so to create these opportunities where we can have authentic, meaningful conversation, we leave the corporate speak behind because we've had enough of that. We want real and we want meaningful connection. So the Executive Woman Experience is the next big thing we're launching.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to those experiences for sure. And Barbie, thank you so much for being a guest on Liftoff.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, stay tuned because after the break, we've got something special lined up for you. Don't go away. Welcome back. Nick Ewan is the director of content at The Points Guy and was one of the site's first contributors in 2012. Oh, it's so long ago. He's visited 51 countries and counting, largely using points, miles, and credit cards. What an amazing goal. He's here to help us, so we do the same. Welcome, Nick.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, Nick. So most of us have heard of points, of course, but many of us aren't using them. How can we get the most out of points and loyalty programs?
Well, I think one of the first things to do is to actually make sure you're participating. If you are not a member of these loyalty programs, if you are not earning rewards on your credit cards, you're literally leaving money on the table. Even if you're not someone who's looking forward to trying to book luxury first class flights or hotel rooms in far flung corners of the globe, you can still get cash back or otherwise get a simple domestic flight just by participating in some of these loyalty programs and being smart about making the most of them.
Now, tell me, how can a person get started using points if they're not doing it now? What are the first steps?
Well, one of the first things to do is to figure out a goal. Try to set that thing that you want to work towards, whether it is a luxury first class flight, or maybe it's simply a trip to see the grandparents, or a trip back to see friends for a girls' weekend or a guys' weekend. Obviously, you want to join as many loyalty programs as you can. There's no real harm to joining. In fact, there's only upside. And then one other thing that you can do is to look at opening a new credit card. That's a really good, important first step. But one of the big things that I say is to just pick one thing to focus on at a time. If you try to do too much at once, it can be very overwhelming and you can wind up simply throwing in the towel because it feels like it's not worth it.
Okay, I know a lot of people that have points set up with almost every provider out there. What are the most common mistakes people make when it comes to points and miles?
Well, one of the first things is biting off more than you can chew. It's so important to start slow. Pick one thing, focus on it for a few months, make it part of your muscle memory, and then you can begin layering things on top of it. Another important thing with credit cards in particular is spending beyond your means and not being able to pay your balance in full and on time every month. It's one of our core tenets here at the Points Guy. Never spend more than you can afford because the interest you accrue or late fees for not paying your bill will negate the value of any rewards that you earn. Another thing is once you do really get into the rewards game, you start earning all these points and miles, don't hoard them. We subscribe to an earn and burn philosophy here at the Points Guy. Miles and points are not going to get more valuable over time. So once you have them, spend them. But the biggest mistake is not participating at all. I hear so many people say, you know what? I'm not even going to bother with it. I don't travel enough. I'm never going to earn a free flight or a free hotel room. Many of these programs now have currencies that never expire as long as you remain an active customer. So there's really no drawback to joining these programs, and there's only upside.
Such great tips. Okay, I need to ask you more. What are some of the best ways that you personally use your points and miles? Because I want to copy that, I think.
Well, I personally subscribe to the philosophy of I want to put my points and miles towards things that I would not otherwise pay for out of pocket. So a $200 economy round trip flight in the US, that's something that I can typically fit into my general budget. But I've been able to do some really amazing things like booking first class Cathay Pacific flights to Bali for me and my wife. That was back in 2012. We actually a couple years ago spent a New Year's Eve at a in a full suite at a resort in Park City. Got to take in some beautiful skiing while we were there. Just last year, we booked a $1,500 a night room at the Park Hyatt in New York. And very recently in November, I had the great chance to fly Singapore Airlines first class from Frankfurt to New York JFK, a memorable flight that would have been multiple thousands of dollars, but I was able to cut down the cost of that by using my points and miles that I had earned.
And what are your biggest takeaways so that our viewers have this kind of financial strategy working for them too? What should they be mindful of when collecting points?
Well, one of the big things is to make sure that you have an understanding of how much time you have or want to invest in learning the ins and outs of these loyalty programs. For me, it's not just a passion, but it's also a full-time job. And a lot of our readers here at the Points Guy say, I don't want to go that far. So I do want to focus on a simpler card, maybe a single credit card that I can use to really finance my travels and put all of my focus on that one card or that one program rather than trying to cast a really wide net. Again, it does take time, but here at the Points Guy, we have a ton of resources to really help you ramp up if you do want to start traveling more comfortably and make your travel experiences more rewarding.
Nick, these were fabulous tips. I'm putting so many of them to use as soon as we are done with this interview. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody else, we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're so happy to be here in our kitchen, one of my favorite places in the house, and even happier, this is really serious, to have it filled to the brim, I'm not kidding you, with the sweetest treats. We have our next guests, Heather Stennis and Rachel Cohen. Thanks for coming on the show, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
This is great.
So exciting. All right, Heather, I'm so excited. I've been dreaming about having you on the show. Let's start with you. Tell us about your role at Cinnaholic.
Sure. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Cinnaholic. I've been with the company for almost 4 years.
I want your job. I just,
It's a pretty sweet, it's a sweet
Rachel's job. Rachel, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So along with my brother, Danny, the two of us are franchise owners in Metuchen, New Jersey. So right outside the city here.
All right. So ladies, I'm like blown away. Cinnaholic has grown so fast over the past few years. And it seemed like during COVID, you were pandemic proof.
We not only survived the pandemic, we thrived in the pandemic. We really just shifted our model, our business model, more towards online ordering and third-party delivery. People were at home, they were craving sweets, so we just made it easier for them to get it and safer, obviously, during the peak of everything.
It's so smart because so many food chains and restaurants had challenges during COVID, but it looks like with over 80 locations in the US and Canada, you guys are just booming.
Yeah, another key to our success is, everything we make is fresh in-house. We don't have freezers. We are making cinnamon rolls all day, cookie dough all day. Really kind of sets us apart from some of the competition.
Can I just repeat that? You make cookie dough all day. All right. Because everything is fresh and healthy, you attract a lot of vegans too, right?
Yes. So fun fact, everything here, everything we serve in our bakeries is 100% plant-based, down to the sprinkles, down to the marshmallows. We are very serious about that, very proud to be a vegan company. So we, if whether you are vegan or somebody with food allergies, we work well with everybody. But I mean, once you try it, it's just a delicious, decadent dessert. So we really are for everybody.
So I think we need to eat it all. That's my first statement. Rachel, Help us out. What do we have
Sure.
here?
So today we brought a whole bunch of different items. Let's start off with our cinnamon cake here. This is one big cake. It's beautiful, it's lovely, and it's quite delicious. You can top it with as many toppings as you'd like, kind of mix things up. Over here, our signature rolls. The Cookie Monster is the all-time favorite best-selling cookie cinnamon roll at our store.
At all stores.
Yeah, even at ours as
Yeah.
well. We have the new Very Berry, and then right now we have a seasonal Biscoff cookie butter roll. Quite delicious, and we're going to make one of them today.
So we're going to make some.
So we're
Okay,
going to
cool.
start, we're going to make our most popular one, the Cookie
Excellent.
Monster. So I'm going to have you start off
Awesome.
with the frosting down on the end. That is our cream cheese frosting.
Okay.
Take a big heaping
Yep.
dollop,
Got it.
slap it on.
Yep.
Love it.
Perfect.
I'm going to grab
Can I
the
lick-
cookie dough
I'm
if
not
you'd
gonna lick
like.
it. Not going to lick it on TV.
Going to grab some cookie dough for us here, and we're going to slap that on as well in the middle here.
And again, because no dairy, it is safe to eat raw. So
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Next up, you're going to grab the chocolate chips,
Okay.
and you're going to take a nice heaping spoonful as well and just throw it on. Even better. And then the next thing is the chocolate sauce all the way on the end.
Love it.
And you're going to make some nice long stripes all over it. However you like. Voila.
you're hired.
Awesome. So this is fantastic. Tell me how the audience can find out more about starting a Cinnaholic franchise or just ordering some like I'm going to do.
Yeah, of course, we're on social media at Cinnaholic and our website, cinnaholic.com. You can learn about franchising. You can find out all of our locations across the U.S. and Canada and see our full menu and get Cinnaholic inspiration.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Rachel, so much for being on the show today so I can eat this.
Yes,
now.
that's all yours. Thank you so
Dig
much
in.
for having us.
Yes. That's so messy. I love it. Okay. That was so good, and I'm going to devour the rest of it. But now that our sweet tooth is happy, let's keep the focus on happy financial futures. Are you feeling lucky? Our next guest believes everyone can be big lucky and achieve success. If you're ready to change your life for the better, don't go away.
Please join our friend Karen Thomas during her 5 Days of Empowerment program, created for families who may be overwhelmed after an autism diagnosis and looking for assistance and support. Over the course of the program, the Naturally Recovering Autism 5 Days of Empowerment will provide you with brief daily communications and practical tools to implement in your day-to-day life. You can complete this program from wherever you are, whenever you have the time, from your phone, tablet, or computer. To learn more, go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/empowerment.
Okay, I'm beyond happy and honored to welcome our next guest, Jim Markham, author of Big Lucky, and he brought me a copy, and founder of hair care brand Pureology. Jim joins us to discuss his journey and offer some practical advice for all of us entrepreneurs and business people alike. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
I'm so happy to be here with you, Jeannie.
And I understand you flew all the way from Hawaii to get here.
All night.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You definitely have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. And you've founded 5 companies and all incredible brands, including Pureology, which was achieved over $1.2 billion in sales. That's amazing. And I think every entrepreneur will strive to be like you in the future. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs like us on Liftoff that are just starting out?
You know, I think one of the first things that entrepreneurs do is they got to have a good strategy. They got to pick a brand that they think is got legs, and then they got to become experts in their competition. They've got to know what their competitors do, what their strengths are, what strengths they don't have, and they got to figure out how to get a unique point of view. And then they got to do a good budget, and they got to make sure they got enough money to do this properly. And then they got to get a good public relation person to help them with social media. I think is critical.
I love that you said that about PR and social media because I'm a big fan. But
Me too.
with so many entrepreneurs and small businesses starting out in such turbulent business times, what makes a small business owner stand out? Do you think it's the PR and social media, or is it a combination?
I think, one of the most exciting things I think about being an entrepreneur is you can say, wow, in this perfect, if the world was perfect, what could I do to make my product better, faster service, better performing, cheaper price. What's my unique point of difference? And you can find that unique point of difference. And if you can find that with a lot of passion, a lot of PR, and keep your budget low, but have a good strategy, you will excel. I found that most people keep falling down and don't know how to get back up. And I've also noticed that the most important people in the world, the most important entrepreneurs, have fallen down a lot, and they keep falling down. Like I fell down a lot, but I just kept getting back up because I knew I was going to make it.
So tell me about one of the biggest mistakes you made and how you recovered.
One of the things we did with the company I've had started back in the 90s was a product called ABBA. And we made it ABBA Liquid Styling Tools. And that was the name of another company. Paul Mitchell had one called Liquid Styling Tools. So we copied their positioning, and it didn't do very well. That was a big mistake, because then we changed it to ABBA Pure and Natural. We changed the imagery, put color, and we put herbs and made it vegan, and it just soared. So big mistake. Don't copy somebody else's position. Create your own and make it unique and special and drive that. Don't try to copy anybody.
That's such good advice. So in your book, you say that every entrepreneur is born lucky. Can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy?
Well, yeah, I think, sometimes you work hard enough, you get lucky. I believe we're all born to win. God made us to win. When you believe in Buddha or believe in God, I think we're all made to win. And if you just have that philosophy and you say, well, I'm going to win, then if you fall down, you need to get back up, and you'll get back up as many times as it takes to win. Just make sure you've got a good budget. Make sure you've forecasted your cash flow, and make sure you got a good strategy, a good publicist, and a lot of good strategies, and you will survive, especially if you got something that's unique and special.
Well, I can't wait to spend so much more time with your book and follow all of your great advice. Thank you so much
Thank
for all
you so
this
much.
great
It's nice
information.
being on the show with you.
Nice being on the show with you. Well, that's a wrap for our very first episode of Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden. I am beyond thrilled and grateful that you've taken this journey with us, and I hope you found our guests like Jim so exciting, and that you can use the information they're sharing to improve both your personal and professional life. But don't go away, because the fun doesn't stop with just this episode. We've got even more great episodes. We've got guests this season covering topics that you've always wanted to know about and were probably afraid to ask. So stay tuned for the best content from building a brand, business innovations, mental wellness, healthier living, financial freedom, and so much more. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Liftoff TV Show or Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden. We've got more tips and resources there. I'm Jeanniey Walden. See you next time.
Yay!
Oh!
There we go.
Thank you.
Right here, baby. Look. Uma.
Something more than a birthday is happening here. Once you can see it, you can help. The sooner you recognize the signs of autism, the sooner you can make a lifetime of difference for your child. Start by answering a few simple questions at screenforautism.org.
The proceeding was sponsored by Liftoff Enterprise.